What's good, YouTube? This your boy Lang, man, and I'm back here with another reaction video, Slime. And right now, I'm about to react to Mac Dre versus Everyone. What really happened? And this is from Swamp Stories. You feel me? A lot of y'all been hitting me saying to react to this. You feel me? Because ever since I started doing Mac Dre reactions and start really introducing Mac Dre to the channel, you feel me? A lot of y'all was like, bro, you gotta react to the Mac Dre, you feel me, you gotta react to everything, and a lot of y'all was like, a lot of y'all sent me obviously the songs, but a lot of y'all sent me this. Y'all was like, bro, this right here is gonna tell you really about the whole Mac Dre story, especially me not being from the Bay, but I got relatives and I got you know what I'm saying, a whole side of my family's out there in the Bay, you feel me, the Oakland area, in the Frisco area, you feel me. So, and when I was a kid, obviously me being from Texas, you feel me, from Houston, growing up, when my older cousins used to come from, to come over there to come see me, you feel me, and visit, and come out there and visit and all of that, you feel me. They used to come out, and I remember they used to bring me, they used to let me hear, the Mac Dre, E40, Too Short, you feel me, all that, you feel me, everything really that was going on in the Bay. And this, the early 2000s, I'm in middle school, so this you know what I'm saying, this 2003, 2002, I'm in elementary or middle school, one of those. But and I remember hearing it, and you feel me, and I remember Mac Dre being my favorite Bay artist, because really Mac Dre Mac Dre's not even my favorite Bay. He's one of my favorite artists, period, in general. I'm not, you can't just call him a Bay art, no. Mac Dre to me is one of the greatest to ever do it. And that's why to me, I know everybody love E40 and Too Short. Don't get me wrong, I love I mess with him too, but I mess with Mac Dre I was listening to Mac Dre way more than I was with E40 and Too Short. I remember when my cousins you know what I'm saying, was bro, the only person you really listen to now is Mac Dre, woo doo woo. You feel me? And I don't know, something about Mac, I think I just gravitated towards Mac Dre because the swag and the way he was talking, and you feel me, the lines he would say, I don't know, I just gravitated to Mac Dre more, to me. And it's, to me, I never understood, I still don't understand why when people talk about Bay artists or Bay Area artists, they only really say Too Short, E40, and I'm bro, y'all realize there was Mac Dre too, right? I don't, am I the only one that feels that, or am I tripping? It's the same way I feel about Pimp C, because obviously being from Texas, I don't, bro, people bring up everybody else, but you know what I'm saying, people really, I don't know, I guess it's just people somehow forgot what people like Pimp C, people like Mac Dre did for hip hop, and brought it to the game. Bro, look around, you see rappers, bro, you see a lot of rappers nowadays, bro, that, you know what I'm saying, they not gonna say it, but bro, let's be real, you got a lot of Pimp C copycats, you got a lot of Mac Dre copycats out here. It's facts. Feel me? Especially now, in the era of hip hop we're in now. Feel me? Because everybody want to do what everybody doing. Everybody want to mess with the same feet. It's weird. You feel me? But the one and only that started it to me, for you know what I'm saying, the swag, bro, Mac Dre. You feel me? And me being from Texas, same shit, Pimp C, these two started cultures. Feel me? So to me, I think it's just it ain't right that they don't get the credit they deserve. But a lot of y'all was like, this video is gonna break down like why, and you know, so man, we about to just see, you feel me, Mac Dre versus everyone, what really happened, because I want to know what happened. Like, I want to know, like, is there like a lot of y'all was like, bro, E40 and Mac Dre got problem. I'm like, huh? What do you mean? Like, so I hope this video breaks down everything like y'all told me, because a lot of y'all was like, bro, you just gotta watch this, you feel me? But rest in peace, Mac Dre, you feel me? One of the greatest to ever do it, you feel me? And my favorite song, before even, it always will be, I might make you a slap, but anything else, not my job. Okay, that's my stuff. Hey, rest in peace, Mac Dre. But let's get it though. Let's get into this thing. So let's go.
Welcome back to another episode of Swamp Stories. This time we finish off the Mac Dre series. But before we get into it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new. Also, thank you guys so much for 100,000 subscribers. I honestly never thought that the channel would make it this far. I literally started this out of pure boredom and interest in the California underground. I appreciate the support, and we will keep growing and making good content. So let's get into it. In the last video, I briefly talked about the life and upbringing of Mac Dre, but I don't think I did his life any justice. So let's start back from the beginning. Andre Lewis Hicks was born in Oakland in 1970 to a woman named Wanda Salvato, but early in his childhood, they moved about 30 minutes north to the city of Vallejo. He spent his childhood years in the Country Club Crest neighborhood in North Vallejo. And for those who aren't familiar, I'd classify this area as a semi-hood. Visually speaking, this area looks like any middle-class suburb. And on top of this, if you look at the crime statistics, it's really not all that bad of an area. But with that being said, the combination of poverty and lack of resources will add a certain level of street activity to any neighborhood. So that's the kind of guys that Mac Dre grew up around, but he wasn't necessarily interested in that path. Mac Dre always had two interests, music and you know what. He was always known to have a cold mouthpiece, and that's where the nickname Mac Dre came from. Well, he officially began rapping at 14 years old, and then he began performing in front of his classmates at Hogan High School. But while he was at Hogan High School, there was another student there that was big into music as well.
You know, it's crazy. I seen this on the I don't know if y'all ever seen the Mac Dre documentary, but they showed this in the documentary, and this is where everybody heard that I'm too hard for radio. I'm too hard. Look, and that's crazy how this was. I think this was 89. I think in the documentary they said this one bro was in high school, I think. Feel me?
This student was a drummer in the band and was a star baseball player. The name, Earl Stevens, and if you're from California, you should automatically know that name. Well, let's head to 1986, because that's when Earl Stevens would head to college at Grambling State University in Louisiana. That's where he would play in the marching band along with his cousin named Brant Jones. Well, while they're away in Louisiana, things back home were changing. Mac Dre drops a song called Too Hard for the Radio and has Vallejo on notice. His song was truly too hard for the radio. Well, after a year in Louisiana, Earl Stevens and Brant Jones would return to Vallejo to pursue two things. The first is money, and the second is music. Earl Stevens would go by the rap name E40, and Brant would go by the name of Be Legit. Together, the two would sell tapes out of their trunk, and yes, that's all they sold, of course. But here's what's interesting. While E40 is selling his music and creating his own buzz, so is Mac Dre. And although they were both becoming famous in their city, they never thought about working together. And that's because Mac Dre and E40 were not cool, but it wasn't necessarily a personal issue. Let me explain. E40 is from a South Vallejo neighborhood called the Hillside, and Mac Dre is from a North Vallejo neighborhood called the Crest Side. And during the 1980s, these two neighborhoods...
Dang, so what? Their neighborhoods didn't get along. Dang. That's crazy. So that's why y'all was saying in the comments, this video is breaking down, because I was like, what? Mac Dre and E4, like, what?
Did not get along to say the least. Some would even describe Vallejo as having two sides at that point. Vallejo was pretty much divided by Tennessee Street. So pretty much if you were from North Vallejo, you couldn't go below that line. Yes, it was that serious. And not only was this going on in the streets, but the politics would spill over into the music as well. E40 would drop a hit song called Mr. Flamboyant, and Mac Dre would have some interesting lyrics in response. Mr. Flamboyant is a song I'll never sing. I'm not with the clique, I'm straight with the sick. And any style sucker I'm ready to get with. But despite these harsh lyrics, E40 claims that he and Mac Dre never had any problems.
It wasn't a relationship. We didn't have any problems with each other. It was never none of this. We didn't have nothing to be mad at each other for. You know what I'm saying?
But this song here may contradict what he said. So let me give it context. It's 1993 and Mac Dre was just sentenced to 6 years after a bogus conspiracy charge. I actually talked about this whole situation in the previous episode, so if you haven't seen...
Yeah, and in his documentary they talk about it too. Like, I was like, that's stupid. But hey, and if y'all never heard Mac Dre Life's Up, he talks about it.
That, go check it out first. But anyways, E40 would have something very interesting to say about this. He would say, I said, wait a minute, baby, you mistaking me for Andrea. I'm not a fail-tale rat-head wannabe. I wouldn't rob a bank for publicity. I get it honestly, legally, so have no fear. That was a cold bar, but you wouldn't say that about someone that you never had a problem with. I'm just saying. But in all reality, things were handled much better than they could have, and Mac Dre and E40 never had any run-ins. The mutual respect ran deep enough for them to allow each other to thrive in their own way. There was no jealousy or envy because that's not what real bosses do. Okay, you may be wondering why E40 is relevant to this episode, but trust me, it's important and it will make sense later in the video. But let's get back to the main topic, Mac Dre. Mac Dre's style and influence would take over the West Coast in the late 90s to early 2000s. From Seattle to San Diego and Reno to Arizona, the hyphy movement was spreading fast. There was one city nowhere near the West Coast that stood out more than any other. For whatever reason, Kansas City loved Mac Dre. And I'm not exaggerating, they seriously loved Mac Dre. So word of mouth would spread around that Mac Dre had a fan base in Kansas City. So for a couple of years, Mac Dre, along with San Francisco rapper Messy Marv, would connect with some Kansas City rappers. One of those rappers goes by the name of Fat Tone. And this guy, well, his reputation speaks for itself. You better believe anything that he says in his music. And trust me, Kansas City knows what I'm talking about. Well, fast forward a little bit, and Mac Dre, Messy Marv, and Fat Tone all end up doing songs together, and everything is good. He had gotten so familiar with Kansas City that they would book him to perform on Halloween night 2004, October 31st, 2004. Mac Dre heads out to Kansas City and is booked for 2 events. The first one is a show, and it goes better than planned. Full attendance, and he has the crowd going crazy. Then he heads to the second booking, which is a club walkthrough. He shows up and does what he has to do, but an argument breaks out between Mac Dre and the promoter. The promoter wants Mac Dre to stay longer, but Mac Dre wants to leave and go back to the hotel. It's already 3 in the morning, and Mac Dre definitely has some arrangements to handle. So he decides to get in the van to be taken back to the hotel. So they're cruising down the freeway, and that's when a black Infiniti pulls right beside them, and bam. The news breaks out in the morning and everyone is in shock. There is no way that this happened to Mac Dre. It can't be true. But after the shock would die down, it was followed by one big question. Who is responsible? The whole West Coast is eager to know who did this to our favorite rapper. And for whatever reason, one name began circulating all over the Bay. Fat Tone. It had to be Fat Tone. That is the only thing that would make sense. But not only would Fat Tone be blamed, the entire Kansas City became enemy number 1 in the Bay Area. One of their famous rappers named Tech9 would talk about it in a DJ Vlad interview.
And for a minute there, I couldn't go to the Bay, for some months.
So because of all the rumors about Fat Tone, Kansas City police would go ahead and investigate him. They would find zero evidence or suspicion that Fat Tone was involved in any way. Fat Tone would even come out and say that him and Mac Dre were actually friends and that there was no issue between them at all. Regardless, the Bay Area was not buying it. But despite the rumors, Fat Tone would travel to Las Vegas all the time. Vegas became his second home because he had a ton of cash and he loved to gamble. And that takes us to May 23, 23rd, 2005. Fat Tone heads to Las Vegas to gamble and do who knows what. And despite the Bay Area's feelings about him, he does have one Bay Area connection left. A man by the name of Mac Minister. Mac Minister, whose real name is Andre Dow, is known to connect Fat Tone with many big rappers. They also are known to do business together as well. So it's 2 a.m. and Fat Tone is at the casino when he gets a call from a 415 number. He picks it up and it's Mac Minister. He tells Fat Tone to meet him in an empty garage about 5 minutes away from the casino. The odd request has Fat Tone a little bit skeptical, so he goes ahead and calls his mom. He tells her that he has a weird feeling about this and that he's probably just gonna fly back home to Kansas City. Well, after the call, he decides to meet up with Mac Minister anyways. Fat Tone brings his friend Jermaine Akins, also known as Cowboy, with him. So they drive to the empty parking lot and Mac Minister is nowhere to be found. So they wait, and a few minutes later, a Pontiac Firebird pulls up right beside them. Bang. Next morning, the shocking news goes viral, but this time everyone knows what it was all about, and it honestly confirms everyone's suspicion of Fat Tone's involvement with the Mac Dre situation. But still, no one knows what happened, and especially not Las Vegas police. They're absolutely clueless except for one fact. While reviewing the security footage, they notice a Pontiac Firebird leaving the area. 2 days later, Vallejo police get a call about an abandoned Pontiac Firebird that looks suspicious. So they casually come see the car, and it turns out that the car matches the Las Vegas description. So they run the plates for the car and find some very interesting information. The car is registered to a woman named Lee Larson, and at this point the police are confused as ever because she's a woman from a small town called Payson, Utah. Well, after not being able to get a hold of Lee Larson, Vallejo police contact her family. Lee Larson's father informs police that a man named Andre Dow and his friend Jason Mathis were, let's say, receiving
Purdue University Global. Apply now at purdueglobal.edu.
compensation from his daughter Lee Larson. So Las Vegas police officially name Andre Dow and Jason Mathis as the suspects in the case. But there's a major problem. They are nowhere to be found. But after a while, Jason Mathis would be found in his San Francisco apartment. But for the next 5 months, Mac Minister is still nowhere to be found. So Las Vegas police would keep asking Lee Larson questions, but she would not say anything. Seriously, she literally said nothing. Both Las Vegas and Vallejo police would come out and say that Lee Larson did not cooperate at all. But her loyalty to Mac Minister and Jason Mathis might have been pointless, and you'll see why. November 4th, 2005. Welcome to Fairfield, California, about 20 minutes east of Vallejo. And here we are in a quiet residential area. Bam! Residents report a loud sound in the area and tell police that it may have come from the park. So Fairfield police casually arrive to search the park, and that's where they find Lee Larson. So now things are way more serious, and the search for Mac Minister is on. And that being said, Mac Minister is not found until March 4th, 2006. Mac Minister is casually relaxing in his San Francisco apartment when he gets a knock on the door. And apparently he's completely relaxed as if he doesn't have 5 stars. Well, as a result of this, Mac Minister and Jason Mathis will never be getting out. So that brings up an important question. Why did they do this? Well, Mac Minister would simply say that he did it for the Bay Area. And here's the craziest thing about it. He didn't even know Mac Dre. He was so upset that Mac Dre's friends didn't step up to the plate that he decided to do it himself. But here's the reality. After Mac Minister did all this, Mac Dre's friends would come out and say that Fat Tone had nothing to do with it. Apparently, after Mac Dre passed away, Fat Tone would call Jay Diggs and tell him that he had nothing to do with it. And Jay Diggs believed him, so everything was good. So after all, Mac Minister and Jason Mathis did this for nothing. So let's jump ahead to the post-Mac Dre era in the Bay Area. Everyone would rally together to uphold Mac Dre's legacy and continue the hyphy movement. One of the rappers to step up and adopt some of Mac Dre's style and lingo is E40. He would make songs like Tell Me When to Go, where he would use a lot of Mac Dre's lingo. And to the majority of people, there was no problem with it. But some of Mac Dre's old friends were not too pleased about this.
Right back to the real E40 real fast, huh?
But in the bigger picture, none of that really matters because Tell Me When to Go is a certified anthem. Well, for the past 17 years, Jay Diggs and Kilo Kurt have been managing Fizz Nation and everything has gone pretty smoothly. Well, there was the Messy Marv situation, but other than that, there wasn't much drama surrounding Mac Dre's name. But all of that would change just a few weeks ago when a San Francisco rapper would go live and make some wild accusations. Now let me remind you that Kilo Kurt and Jay Diggs were Mac Dre's, let's say, friends and managers at the same time.
It was some tension between Mac Dre and Kilo Kurt. Jay Diggs was more of a bodyguard. Jay Diggs wasn't a rapper on Fizz Nation at first. He wasn't on Mac Dre label. They was homeboys, but Mac Dre didn't with Diggs the same way. He through with Kilo Kurt, but Diggs was trying to get in where he fit in. Jay Diggs, hell yeah, so we're gonna get to that part in a minute. There was a show in Fresno, and Kilo Kurt went to pick the money up for the show. The show in Fresno was for $6,000, but Kilo Kurt only gave Mac Dre $1,500. When Mac Dre found out it was for $6,000 because they was doing a tour, and Kilo Kurt, since they partners, was starting to collect money for shows. Mac Dre, when he found out that it was $6,000 and he only got $1,500, he approached Kilo Kurt about that. He didn't like that Kilo Kurt collected $6,000 and only gave him $1,500. No, so Kilo Kurt didn't collect none of that money out there in Kansas City. Did Kilo Kurt do it? I didn't say that. Did Jay Diggs do it? Nope, I didn't say that neither. Was they okay with it? Yes, they was okay with it. So how did the man that got fired from Mac Dre end up running Mac Dre company after he died? They did the back door on Mac Dre, bro. Check out how they treating his daughter. I'm like, he got a daughter. Go check out Mac Dre's daughter right now. Google it on YouTube right now. They turned her out. Kilo Kurt and them did not protect her. Meanwhile, Kilo Kurt Jay Diggs running up a bag on Mac Dre's name when the deal was in Andre Hicks' name, Mac Dre. But then it got switched to Kilo Kurt and Jay Diggs' name. How did that happen? Why wasn't Mac Dre catalog putting his mama name and his daughter name?
After hearing the rant, Jay Diggs would go on live to defend his own name.
I had never been to Kansas City in my life. I did not know one person, not one soul in Kansas City. Never met a man in Kansas City a day in my life. When I got to Kansas City, I tapped in with people I knew of. I tapped in with Fat Tone because Fat Tone was a suspect. And everybody was yelling Fat Tone name. And I wanted Fat Tone to talk to me. I needed some answers. And we talked. I stayed out in Kansas City for a few days, doing my homework, doing my footwork, doing my street work. And I left Kansas City and came back home. I never been there a day in my life. I wasn't even out there when it happened. How did my name get thrown in the mix? He said I got fired. What did I get fired for? If I'm the bodyguard, what did I get fired for? Anything that get done with Mac Dre name, face, or anything goes through Wanda. Have I ever took anything of Dre's? I never got a check for no Dre music. I never got a check for Fizz Nation music. I never got a check for Fizz Entertainment music.
If any of what JT said is untrue or made up, he should lose all his credibility. But on the other hand, if he's telling the truth, then he's a hero for standing up for Mac Dre's legacy. So what do you guys think about this? Do you think Jay Diggs and Kilo Kurt are responsible? Let me know in the comments. And on that note, thank you guys for tuning in.
And I'm gonna end it right there, Slime. And that's crazy. You feel me? If that, hey man, that's crazy if that's true. You feel me? At the end, you feel me? That's crazy. But you feel me? Like I said, Mac Dre, always one of the greatest. Like, in my opinion, he's one of my favorite artists. Like, he's in my top 5 favorite for sure. And like, that's just what it is. You feel me? Like I said, like, Mac Dre will always be one of my favorites, you feel me? And this is what it is. And I'm gonna get at y'all the next one. Rest in peace. Mac Dre's a name. And I'm out already.